Y'all, it was Clash of the Titans on Corey Holcomb's 5150 show last night. Did y'all see it? Did y'all see it? Child, him and Anton Daniels was about to come to blows, y'all. Listen, come in here, y'all. Get in here. Let's talk about it real quick, real quick. All right? Listen, listen. Peace, cousins, your cousin Reebell, aka The Voice. And I got an opinion about everything. I mean, everything. And this is Reebell Radio Presents the Reebell Report. That's right. That's where I bring you breaking news, hot topics, and everything in entertainment. Okay. I'm going to get into that in just a sec. But in the meantime, smash the like button and subscribe with the bell so you don't miss none of my commentary on this and other hot topics, reality recaps, and more. So bust it. So, y'all, Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels got together on the 5150 show last night in the middle of the night. I mean, they on West Coast time, but it was the middle of the night where I was on East Coast time. But and it just didn't go well. And I had a feeling it wasn't gonna go well because when you put two people like that in the same room, even though here's my thing, I knew it was gonna be a clash, and I figured that it was gonna still be lighthearted because Corey, he makes fun of the stuff. He makes the stuff still funny, like you know what I'm saying, but that just wasn't the Anton's tone was just like so serious and his it was just rude. So it just didn't make you could tell it just was gonna go left. Anyway, Corey started off in a good mood. You know what I'm saying? He was smiling, he was eating his little cherry sour things. And he did acknowledge that there may be a clash in opinions, but he said he's not uptight. And you could tell, he's ready to get the job done with jokes and stuff. Like I said, when he introduced Anton, he's like, this is my man, Anton. Like look at his face. This is how it started off. He was happy. He was in a great mood. And Anton, on the other hand, he was smiling, right? He smiled a little bit, but you could tell he was a little bit uptight. You could tell he came there with an agenda, right? And even though he was smiling in the beginning, and he did acknowledge, that the show was definitely going to be interesting. But again, it was something in his eyes that just told me he came there with an agenda. He didn't come to enjoy himself. He came there like for a purpose to make something crazy happen just for the clicks and the views. Cause that's what he does, stuff like that. So, and then D was like, oh, yeah, me and Anton had a time and we had a great conversation before Corey got there. And Anton made a joke that he had buttered her up and she was all giggling and cheesing. And that kind of bothered me because I'm like, if you know anything about Anton Daniels, D should have known, like, yeah, you keep it cordial, you keep it cute, but you do still keep it distant because he's coming there with an agenda. You know what I'm saying? And you still have to, it's the loyalty thing. It's still your show. It's still Corey's show. So you still need to maintain a certain level of like distance for the loyalty purposes. But I feel like D, she was just like too sniggling and giggling too damn much for me. And Corey did check her later on in the show about that. And I definitely agreed with him on that. But okay, so listen, let me let y'all know off the rip, right? I consume the content of both of these dudes. I like Corey Holcomb, as a comedian. I check out clips of his show. When he's talking about different things, and I definitely catch the stuff that Anton talks about too. So I'm familiar with the vibes and the moods and the antics, pretty much of both of these dudes, right? And it's like, this is not like me experiencing either one of them for the first time. So, my perception of Anton is, not my favorite kind of dude. he's a little rude for me. He's smart. He's very smart, very well spoken, very knowledgeable, about a lot of things. So I do respect him for that. But he's not always my cup of tea. But sometimes, when he's talking about topics that have nothing to do with the things that I don't want to hear about. He's just like, just doing like a rant, or not a rant, but like a reaction video to something. I sometimes I catch those of him, but I do see things where I see him like going off on people and just I kind of don't like it. I don't really care for it. And then my perception of Corey is I dig him as a comedian. I think he's hilarious. Um, I do catch his show 5150 when things are going on. Like I said, I see clips. My brother and my husband and my brother, they love the show. So I'm familiar with Corey anyway. I watch his specials and that kind of thing. So I'm definitely familiar with both of these dudes. So how did this start? Let's see. How did things start? So they start talking about politics and everything, right? And that led to conversation about slavery, and then the conversation starts to heat up a little bit. Anton is like, he's a hardcore like right wing Republican conservative, right? And Corey doesn't really claim any political side, but Anton did say that he feels like Corey's views reflects those of a Democrat. And one of the things that had me kind of looking at Anton a little bit like, was when he kept referring to black people as you know what I'm saying, or y'all, as if he's not black. I I thought that was weird. And then Corey called him out on it. He asked him, like, why are you doing that? Like, do you not claim black people? Do you consider yourself black? Because he's talking like as if he's white, like you people, y'all, like a distance between him being a black man and us being black people listening to him. He speaks that way. Um and he does it all the time. It's not like this is the first time I've seen him do that, which I think is weird. But um Anton said instead of he doesn't because well, he didn't say I don't consider myself black, but what he said was he considers himself a Christian first and not black first. Sir, I'm sorry, but when people look at you, brother, they see a black man. They don't see a Christian, they see a black man. Let's keep it a buck, okay? Your Christianity is on the inside. That's not on your exterior. So I thought it was weird that he said that. He said he ain't black or brown. He's a believer first and foremost. And so I just was like, wow, that kind of blew me a little bit. So then Anton called Corey a racist, and he let Corey know that he has studied him, which I thought was interesting. And later on, y'all will understand like where he was going with that and why he said that. And I did believe that he definitely was studying Corey because Anton's a smart dude. He's not going to show up on nobody's show that he has not done background information on. I mean, nobody should do that. You should know where you going, what the sentiments are of the people that, of the host, things that trigger them, set them off, don't, because you don't want to use that. Actually, Anton did that, but he used it to in a negative sense. You're usually supposed to know that stuff so that you don't go to offend. I think Anton did that research, but wanted to use it to actually offend, and he did. He very much did. So Corey questions and denies that he's a racist because he's like, I don't understand how I could be black and be a racist because black people don't have the ability to be racist. The typical argument that we say, we don't have that kind of power, right? So the conversation continues, typical political talk and differences and, back and forth. And now here's where it starts to escalate, okay? Because I'm just I had to watch it and go back and see, like, where did this thing start going to the left? It started right about here. Corey told Anton, he said, now there's a reason why you go after black men and black people basically quicker than you will go after white men. And Corey asked him, what have white males done? How are they responsible as far as the downfall of this country? And he's just like presenting this question just like regular. And he just posed it there. And it seemed like Anton didn't want to answer that. Like anytime Corey brought up stuff about white men and like asking Anton to stand on business about, representing them and representing himself as being a part of that. Anton he kept dancing around it. He didn't want to answer it. And Corey clocked that T. And he told him, he was kind of dancing around the whole situation. Yep, he did. I got to keep it real. Anton was most definitely avoiding answering that question. I mean, Stevie Wonder could have saw his deflection and his dancing at that point. Okay. So then Corey asked the question again, and he said, Anton finally said, I'm not answering that. I'm not answering that. And so that's when Corey said, exactly. He was like, exactly. You dance around everything. You dancing around this, and that's when Corey said, that's when when I lose respect for you, when you start dancing around and kissing white people's asses. Okay. Corey said, don't do that in front of me and don't stand next to me because I'm not nobody's ass kisser. I don't be kissing nobody's ass. So I'm not with that. And so I'm not no kind of ass kisser is what Corey said to Anton. And then Anton at this point knows that he lost the converse. He's like lost in the conversation. Corey has one up on him because he got him to admit that he was not going to answer those types of questions. And he didn't want to defend the fact that he takes up for white people and white men, and he don't want to say nothing disparaging against them, right? He kind of Corey called him out on it, and he was kind of like busted a little bit, right? So then Anton, at this point, he knows he's like lost that point, and I think he needed to reach into his bags of bait tricks, right? And he had to say something crazy just to kind of you know get the heat off of him. So Anton tells Corey, he says, yes you are an ass kisser, yes you are an ass kisser. And he told Corey, you are sucking the D of black people as we speak. Child, he looked Corey in the face and told him he was sucking the D of black people. Now I knew, I just knew it wasn't gonna go well. I knew it wasn't gonna go well. Look at D's face, first of all. D's face was my face when I was watching it. But I knew it was gonna go awry when I saw Corey's face. When I seen him make this face, I said, oh shit, it's about to go down. It's just about to go down. So now if you follow Corey, Corey, anything about him, he don't play that backdoorian stuff. No backdoorian references, no nothing. He don't even laugh about it. He does not joke about it. And so I just I just knew. So Anton saying this was kind of like a slap, in his face, kind of like a slap in Corey's face. Like, yeah, that was the worst thing he could have said to Corey Holcomb. So then Anton tries to continue, um, and Corey, attempts to check him calmly, right? He's like trying to let him know, I don't do that, and please stop these references. And Anton just kept going with the same references. Now, here's where I think the context got lost because I think at this point, Anton was speaking metaphorically. I don't think he was saying that you really be sucking the D. But I think his choice of words were on purpose, though. That's what I do think. And remember earlier when he said he studied Corey, so he must have known that saying this stuff was gonna get Corey to make Corey lose his shit. And I think he did it on purpose, just to be in the algorithm. And he knew once you set Corey off, this shit was gonna be all over the internet, like the next day, that night or the next day. So even if it wasn't calculated, you still don't say that kind of stuff to a man. Like, I'm a woman and I know that. Like, I know Anton knows better than to say, telling a man that, you sucking a D of anything, even metaphorically, is crazy. Like, it's nasty work, right? Right. And Anton knew that. He definitely knew that. So then Corey gets up and he asks D to switch seats with him. And then he gets right up in Anton's face. They, kind of going back to, back and forth and everything. It gets super intense. Corey's like 2 inches from his face. Anton is like, I don't care. I'm with it. We could talk face to face. You ain't phasing me. It's nothing, right? So at this point, they both getting a little bit aggressive with each other. And, Corey is just basically telling him, bruh, ease up on Yeah, look how it got. It got crazy. It got crazy. So hold on, y'all. It got crazy. Okay, y'all missed my picks. I thought I had the things up. Sorry about that. This little struggle situation. But okay, so let me go back. Let me go back. I just want to show you something. I just want to show you. I don't know if y'all saw, but when I said the face that Corey made, this is the face that Corey made that told me this thing wasn't gonna go well at all. Okay, because Anton told him, you be sucking the D of black people. And like I said, if you look at D's face, that was definitely my face. But when I saw Corey's face, I knew it was on and popping. So Corey gets up and gets, switches seats with D, and he's up in Anton's face, and Anton is back, just not backing down. And he's like, whatever, it's whatever. And Corey's telling him that D sucking thing, like listen, you gonna stop with that. And he was like, he just got so close to him. I literally thought Corey was gonna grab the dude by his neck and just choke the shit out of him, and just throw him against that 5150 signage in the back. So Anton is like, Corey's telling him, say it again. Okay, say it again. You could sit here all you want, popping this mess. Say that dick sucking thing again. And I'm waiting for Anton to say it, and of course he didn't say it. So shout out to Corey for standing on business with that, because Corey do not play about that kind of stuff, for real, for real. And he told him, say it again, and watch what happens. He put his microphone down on that table, child, and he was like, say it again, and you'll see what happens. You just if you saw the energy, you just knew Corey was definitely gonna knock the shit out this dude, for real, for real. So Anton said, okay, I'm gonna respect you, but you don't be trying to boss up on me. And Corey said, "Nick, I already bossed up on you. I already bossed up on you. You know what I'm saying?" And Anton is like, "Oh, well, you know what? We could take this outside around back." I mean, why he say that? That was just so ridiculous. And Corey was just like,
Stop the cab.
"Please, brother."
Stop the cab.
Man, you don't get out here with all that.
Corey was like, "Boy, stop the cap. You that ain't that's definitely not what you want. That is not what you want." Okay. And so Corey said, "Man, you know what? We good. I tell you what, we good, just as long as you just don't say that again." And Anton said Corey was doing this for the internet. And I was just like, no, he's not doing it for the internet. And you could look at his face. D was trying to hold him back a little bit. Um, but he definitely wasn't doing it for the internet. That's all I'm gonna say. So they kept going back and forth. Corey inched up on him, and again he was just like, "Say it again, say it again." Anton stood up and told him, "We can go back. We can take this outside." Um, D tried to get in the middle of them. D tried to hold them back, and then D tried to get in the middle of them, because it did again. It just kept escalating. It just wouldn't stop. And then Corey was like, "D, get out the way," because she was literally trying to be the one in the middle of the two of them, because Craig was not on the show. If there's a dude named Craig who is one of the co-hosts on the show, he's a dude. Now he probably should have been there doing that, or trying to diffuse the situation, but D was trying to diffuse the situation, and Corey was like, "Man, if you don't move your act, move. You don't stand in front of no two men when they trying to fight, or when they handling business." Because I don't think Corey really wanted to fight him. He was just, excuse me, he was just letting Anton know, you got to chill with all of this backdooring stuff, right? So that's when the show went left. I mean, they pulled up the graphic, child. I mean, the 5150 graphic came up, and we all was just sitting there like, what is going on? What are they doing? Like, what is going on? So then when they come back from the break, they deaded the sound, And so we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was said, but it was just a short period of time. So nothing really could have happened in like the 10 seconds that it went flat, it went dead. So then they come back from everything and they're back to the show and they both seem calm. They both have calmed down, but you could tell Corey is still bothered a little bit by the stuff that's transpiring and the things that Anton has been saying to him, right? So they start speaking in a calm manner. They kind of apologize to each other. They kicking it. And they kind of dap it on up. They dap it on up, which I thought was cool. I mean, shout out to them for squashing beef. I love men that have emotional intelligence and that know how to control themselves. I mean, you still can make a point without everything coming to blows and without losing your shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to them for both of them for doing that. So then, it's back to the respectful tone. They're both listening to each other. They're both just talking and they're kind of talking about they're discussing what constitutes disrespect for each of them. And Corey said, he really don't like to go back and forth with people. And Anton disagrees with him. And he's like, no, that's bullshit. You a bully, Corey. He tells Corey he's a straight up bully. And he's like, you like to pick on people who ain't gonna do nothing. And Corey's like, give me an example, give me an example, give me an example. And Anton refuses to give him an example, right? Anton refuses to give him an example, but then he comes back and he's like, yeah, he brings up the thing about what's his name, Dave Chappelle and his show. And he said, you was trying to like dance around the fact that, you said that his show was whack and you didn't like it. And Corey didn't deny it. He was like, yeah, you know what? I did do that. And I think Corey did it like out of respect. He kind of just didn't want to like, shit on him in front of his face. But he did admit, no, I didn't like it. It was whack. I felt like it was whack. I didn't like it. So it wasn't like he, backpedaled on it. He stood on business. Corey stood on business about the whole thing. And then Anton said Darlene and Craig he brings Darlene and Craig into the situation. And he said, Darlene and Craig ain't never gonna call you out about nothing. They gonna sit there and they won't ever challenge you. And you only have people around you like Darlene and Craig just so you can stand out and be the big dog. He said D is just chill. D is chill. Craig is just happy to be there. Which was a kind of a diss to Craig, like to say he ain't got no backbone. He just sitting up there, just happy to be there. So anything that Corey says, he just lets him say it and get away with it. And then Corey kind of checks him. And then, first of all, to me, you're trying to here goes Anton with the division. He's trying to come in and kind of create some kind of division amongst Corey and the host on the show. So then, Corey checks him on it. He checks him on it. He's like, you don't know the relationship between me and D. You don't understand. And what you looking at or what you seeing, it's probably just because, she respects me. D has respect for me. Craig has respect for me. And that's actually what you're seeing, right? And then D comes in and says, and plus, it doesn't make sense. I don't like to go back and forth with Corey because, he's pretty set in his ways. So a lot of times it doesn't even make sense for me to do that. So Anton starts talking about Corey as if he's not in the room, which this is kind of where it kind of goes left again. So he's like, Corey, Corey's not going to let me back on the show. And Corey's kind of a feeler. He's kind of a feeler. This is what Anton said. He's kind of a feeler where I'm more of like a solution oriented kind of dude. And I think what he was trying to say is that, Corey is emotional. Okay. I think that's what he was trying to say. Right. And this is where it goes awry for the second time because Corey picks up on it. He clocks that T. He definitely picks up on what Anton is underlyingly trying to say. He's trying to call Corey basically a bitch, a beta, saying he's speaking from a place of being in his feelings. And you could tell by Corey's face that he definitely didn't like it. So here we go again. So then Corey points out to Anton, that he's like, bruh, you crossing the line again. You crossing the line again. And he's like, then you acting. This is some backdooring stuff because you talking in riddles and you talking through me. I'm sitting right here. You talking about me to another person, another man over there, as if I'm not standing here. This is some backdooring shit to me. And then Corey once again points out the respect levels, that all men have to have for each other. And he says, if you don't have that, it can cause a war. He's kind of insinuating that Anton be saying stuff, he don't have the code knowledge, the street knowledge, or what have you, just to understand there's certain things in certain ways you just don't talk to another man because it just shit just can go really, really bad. And then Anton says in response to that, he's like, well, I'm a chess player. He told Corey, I play chess. And maybe, well, first of all, before he said the maybe, he said, I understand everything that can happen as a result of something. And he said, and maybe, just maybe, I knew what you were going to do before you did it. And I said what I said to trigger you. Ciao. Ciao. See, and this is what I mean, by Anton. He studied the situation. He knew what to say to Corey to set him off. And his purpose of going there was to have a live interaction. Probably hope that Corey would have punched him in the face so that he could, number one, sue him, or it just would be a big thing all over the internet. But this was big enough. And he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. And he said he knew what he was doing. He said, maybe I knew what was going to happen before it happened. And I said what I said to trigger you. So he knew what he was doing. He was puppet mastering and baiting Corey into, being upset. So then Corey's like, I move by a certain code. And Anton called him a hypocrite. And then Corey is just like, well, you saying all of that, you can call me this, you can call me a hypocrite, but bottom line is you still ain't got nothing to say about white men, and you definitely still be shitting on black people, period. And then once again, whenever Corey points out how Anton refuses to say anything about white men and how he shits on black people, Anton comes back with something highly deflective and highly triggering to Corey, just to get, because he knows that Corey will get upset, and he's just trying to get the heat off of himself, right? So when Corey said that, Anton said, I didn't shit on black people, but I shitted on you to your face. Bruh, why he said that? Now it's up and it's stuck. It's up and it's stuck. So Corey checks him again. Corey's like, bruh, listen, here you go again. You saying the wrong shit out your mouth, be easy. You know what I'm saying? What you doing, it could lead to danger. He's kind of letting Anton know you crossing that line again that we just talked about, that you acting like you don't know nothing about. And Anton's like, whatever, you ain't gonna do nothing. I got security, you got security. And Corey's like, listen, ain't nobody in here damn security. These are my people. These are just my friends. And you could tell Corey definitely didn't have no security because D was in the middle of them trying to break it up. If Corey had security, they would have stepped up and they would have, try to do something, or they would have at least moved D out the way or whatever. But you could tell Corey definitely didn't have no kind of security. And so, but he said to Anton, he's clowning Anton. He's like, but you, a nigga like you, gotta have security because the way you be talking about people, somebody been and slapped you dead in your face. So he told Anton, you gotta hire security. You do. You gotta hire a motherfucker to be with you. I don't. You know what I'm saying? And so they start arguing again. And Anton starts backpedaling. And he's like, I didn't say I didn't he said I didn't say I disrespected you to your face. I'm like, sir, yes, you did. Like, why are you backpedaling? Why are you backpedaling? You just said it. He just said, I ain't shitting on black people, but I just shitted on you right to your face. He just said it. And then turned around and tried to say that he didn't say it. It was kind of ridiculous. And so Corey said, you know what? I feel like I'm arguing with a bitch. I feel like I'm arguing with a female right now. This is some gay. I don't listen. We not doing this. I don't want to do this no more. And then Anton jumps up and he's like, you know what? I'm out. They argue some more. They argue back and forth. I guess at this point, Dee knows them to play her position. Just sit over there on Corey's side and just don't say nothing else. And so so Anton's just like, you know what? I'm out. Peace. I'm getting out of here. And Corey's like, good. You can get the entire fuck out of here. And he said, take you, your bodyguard, and your bitch with you. Child. Child. I said, not the bitch and the bodyguard. Not the bodyguard and the bitch. So here's the thing about that. I don't know if y'all caught this or know this, but Anton up there with some chick, allegedly. I'm just saying. Corey called him out on it. But Anton is married. And so I guess Corey was just like, you coming up here with some chick trying to get her on my show. Get up out of here with all of that. And Corey calls him, you cake ass. Oh my God. Too funny. Too funny. And so Anton's mission he leaves. Anton's mission was accomplished. He rage baited Corey. Definitely. He came there with that agenda and it worked. But on the other hand, Corey stood on business and, he stood up to him every single chance, but he didn't lose it. Like, even when they were challenging each other, even when Anton was like, let's go out in the back, Corey's like, listen, ain't nobody trying to get out of here with that. And you capping anyway.
Stop the cap.
Right?
Man, you don't get out here with all that.
So that's how it ended. He went storming out, and then Corey called him a cake ass nigga, and it just was just over from there. So my thing is this: I already know that today, and probably it's already happened. Anton is gonna have take this back to his show, use it for clicks and views and likes, and talk about it more on his side. And I'm definitely going to go over there and listen to what he has to say. So y'all go over there and check that out. But this back and forth is crazy. It is definitely crazy. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all. Check out Corey Holcomb on the 5150 show. Go to Anton Daniels' page. Get a sense of him. Again, he's not my full cup of tea, but I do like to listen and still just see what the perspective is. So that's it. That's all, y'all. That's it. That's all. They are bugging. Almost came to blows. It was crazy out there in the 5150 streets. So yeah, that's it, cousins. It's your cousin Reebell, aka The Voice. Smash the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. And definitely let's do this again. Thanks for joining. Peace, peace. I'm out. Until the next situation, I will be back. All right. Peace, peace.